How did I do it? That is the biggest question that I get. How did I lose well over 100 pounds in my 40s and maintain that loss well into my 50s? Hi, I'm Denise Cook. Welcome to my channel. I'm so happy to see you here. The point that I'm making this video today is to share with you about that journey. This might be a little lengthy because I feel like there's some really valuable things I'd like to share with you. But the rest of my videos I will keep shorter. I value your time, and I am here for the purpose of sharing everything that I have learned, that I have gone through, what I have experienced with coaching others, so that I can give you tips and help you also. If you are not living optimally right now, my goal on this planet is to help other people reverse illness and just take your power back and have the vibrant, healthy, happy, joyful life that you deserve to have. So back to the question, how did I do it? At the end of this video, I will break it down to like the most simplest terms of what you can do today to get started. You know, I will say that holistic health is very nuanced. We're all very unique individuals. What works for one person is not going to work for the other. And what works for you today may not work for you a year from now. You know, it's all about growing and evolving. There's so much to us. There's the gut microbiome. There's diet history. There's, you know, you could really have a toxic load in the body that you're fighting, heavy metals, parasitic infections. I mean, there's a huge amount of things to take into consideration. And I think, you know, the way that the world is now about nutrition, it is so overwhelming. I am a master coach. I have studied from holistic nutrition, which, was more on the plant-based vegan side, detox, all the way to being a carnivore, a ketogenic carnivore. So I have done it all, and I have no biases. So what I'd like to share with you is how I lost the weight, what I've done, and then I'm going to tell you what you can start doing today that can immediately start to create changes for yourself. So a little bit about my history and what happened was I was sickly as a child. You know, I had a lot of throat infections and things like that, like a lot of children do, antibiotics. I was overweight as a child, and I think what started that was when I was very small. I was super tiny and very frail, and my parents were like really pushing food, encouraging me to eat. So that's how it started. So already by 8 years old, I had a weight problem. So it was always throughout my whole life battling weight, always, all through my teenage years, ups and downs, up into my adult life. Around my 20s, I had mastered it at the time, and I was very fit. I was at the gym often, nice and lean. I did some modeling aside from my other job, so I maintained that for a while. But then during my first pregnancy, I gained 80 pounds. And so then there started the challenges with the weight. And a lot of sickness. I won't go into that too much now, but there was an emotional element here. There is a lot that I had to overcome during this journey. So losing the 110 pounds, yes, that's wonderful. And I reversed illness and I created this life of joy and happiness. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of that work was work on the inside. It was soul work, overcoming. I went through a terrible domestic violence situation, and that plagued me. That started the cascade of all the health problems in my late teenage years. So I'll do another video talking about that, but just know that we are a holistic being, and you have to start healing from the inside out. And I was really in a state of being very, very broken when everything really came to a head. I had gone through a divorce. I was a single mom with my 2 children. I had a really good job. I was driving 50 minutes each way. I was continuing my education, so I was going to school online at night after the kids were asleep. So in other words, just a very, very full life. And then I happened to meet my husband. So then my current husband, my love, And so, we had to come into blended families. So there was that element. We were having issues with ex-spouses. You know what I'm talking about. These are the things that we go through. And something shifted. And what shifted was we started, instead of cooking all the home meals and working out after we fed the kids, we started slipping. We started going out to dinners more. So we were eating out at restaurants. We were going to the local pub. Then we were having wine at night. And then we were having more wine after we got the homework done and the kids settled down. And then we'd sit on the couch and have wine and have snacks while we watched a show. And this started the cycle of my demise. So just to back up a little bit, when I was talking about the health issues, I was in and out of the hospital in my late 30s. Doctors didn't know what was wrong. They said it looked like lupus and multiple other autoimmune conditions. However, they weren't going to give me a solid diagnosis at that time because they needed more episodes. Well, I got through that episode, but when I did get to the point, so now I'm getting close to 40. And this is what I was talking about. I'm backing up a little bit to meeting my husband, and then we stopped working out as much. We started eating out, and it snowballed. My weight went up in less than a year, like 100 pounds. I'm not even kidding. And then I started having these episodes, back to the hospital again. Blood pressure sky high, like in threat of a stroke at any moment. They wanted to put me in and do a spinal tap because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I walked out of the hospital against medical advice because of my job. I knew I had a very important thing to do. Worked in the sports industry, and I was responsible for paying those players, and there was no one to fill in for me. So I walked out. I started making mistakes at work. Now I'm up to the 200 something pound range. My face is swollen. My hair is falling out. I remember sitting in the bottom of the shower bawling because there's chunks of hair every day in the bottom of the shower. And then on the emotional side of it, I had kept my weight down all those years, and now I'm seeing this happening. And I would put a robe on as soon as I got out of the shower because I just would not even look at myself. It was such a difficult time. And now here I have a new husband, and now my health is falling apart. It was devastating. I had to go see a heart doctor. They didn't know what was wrong with me either. So it was just medications. I was so sick. I could barely get through the stress test at the cardiologist's office. His answer was, I wanted to know why. What is happening to me? What is going on? And the doctor was like, I don't know. There was no answer. There was just medication. So at that moment, I knew. I just looked at myself, and I remember just sitting on the floor crying and thinking, this is not my life. This is not the life you're intended to have. And I just thought, this is not the example I want to leave for my children. I don't want my children to have an unhealthy mom. And I knew at that moment that it was in my hands to figure it out. And I intuitively knew. I knew my lifestyle was wrong. And at that point, I was so sick, and we just decided that I would go on a healing journey. So I surrendered my job, and I started the healing journey. So I started with holistic nutrition. I took a holistic nutritionist certification program. That was my way of learning for self-healing. But I'll tell you what, after 3 weeks, I knew that I was going to be teaching this, because in 3 weeks, I already had myself off of all that medication. I had already dropped 20 pounds at that point, and I was starting to feel like there was a glimmer of hope that I was going to survive this, and that I was going to make those changes that I so desperately wanted. And I'm going to tell you, it was not an easy journey. I remember, fortunately, we lived at the beach at the time, but I remember the first day that I tried to get out to start walking, I could barely even just walk in the sand for a short period of time. So I'm just explaining to you, I went from this person doing Beachbody workouts, and in a year's time, I can barely freaking walk on the beach. So it happened super quick. But fortunately, I was able to start reversing things very quickly as well. And it was all lifestyle, guys. It was lifestyle. But as I dove deeper, I started to see that it was the thoughts I was having, the emotions that I was having, the things that I was stuffing down. I'm a sufferer of PTSD, but I just stuffed it all in. And at some point, when lifestyle happens, gets that misaligned, it just snowballs and everything starts to go. I mean, that was my experience of it. So, so I'll tell you, so that was like I went into a deep detox dive with that. And then my next course of study was to study like the China study, and then McDougall's starch solution, which did not work well for me. I started gaining weight back whenever I did the starch solution. And I still wasn't feeling right. I still wasn't feeling good. And so I knew something still wasn't right. So at that point, I started studying the Primal Blueprint. So that's the study of ancestral health. I love that programming, the life philosophy. So I became one of the coaches. So I'm one of the OG coaches from that. So that was 10 years ago. And that worked out very well for me. I then started weight training again. I started putting on muscle. I was feeling good. But the problem was something was still misaligned. Something still wasn't right, because now, I have this deep drive in me. I'm wanting to teach people. I am wanting to help people who are suffering, because I'm telling you, when I got on my knees when this happened and I begged God, I said, if you are there, if you will just help me survive this, if you will just help me, I promise I will spend the rest of my life. It still gives me chills to say that to this day. I gave my word that I would spend the rest of my life teaching everything that I knew so that I could help other people who were suffering. And everything just came. Everything fell into place. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful journey. But back to, so I'm studying, primal. I'm advancing. I'm putting muscle on. I'm feeling good. But the thing was, I'm wanting to take people on and coach them. But the problem was, I would go one day and I'm feeling like Xena, warrior princess on top of the world. And the next day, I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling depressed. And there's no reason. There is like no environmental reason. I have a beautiful life. I have the children that I always dreamed of having. I'm now with my life partner. Everything was going in a positive way. But then I would have this feeling over me. So I'm like, something is still not right. And I'm always looking to nutrition with these things, because I saw the dramatic change that I had in, that first month. So I'm always focused on nutrition at this point. So I decided, it must be that I still require some detoxing. So I went back and I went to an even deeper dive into detoxing, which I'll talk more about that. But I did the whole thing, like the mucoid plaque removal. It was parasite cleanse, eradicating parasites. It was a pretty deep journey. And I definitely improved after that. So there was definitely, each of these different things that I have tried along my journey, I have received improvements from. So I did that. And then at this point, I have a thriving vegan detox business. I'm teaching women, and I was just feeling like I was just living the best life that I could. It just gave me such joy to have this tribe of women, and we're all going through similar things, and we're all helping each other. But something was still not right. So I got into doing my own bioresonance testing at that point. So, and that's another thing that I'm going to talk to you guys a lot about, because I want to teach you how to be your own health advocate. I'm going to teach you the things that I know so that you can do a deep dive into your own health and figure out for yourself what is happening, just like I did. So I did this hair mineral analysis test, and I was shocked. I had pages and pages of deficiencies and sensitivities. And here I feel that I'm a very accomplished vegan teacher. You could not get a diet plan that was more nutrient dense than what I was creating and consuming every day. And here I have this. It just blew me away. And I tell you, it put me into a little bit of a depression because I thought, I so wholeheartedly believed in this, and I am teaching people that this is the right way. And it broke my heart to think that I was teaching something that was harming people. I folded my business. I stopped. I stopped everything. And at the time, I had gotten into the bodybuilding. So I was starting to train for a show. And I had done some photos and things. So I started getting back into modeling. And I just put the teaching to the side. And I just made peace with myself that it was okay for me to do some things that were just for me. You know, my kids are getting older. And my kids were so proud of me. They just loved it that I was doing something like that for myself. So, you know, I paused from coaching and I just got into the bodybuilding and the modeling. And that was my life for a while. But I was still trying to figure out, work on my health, evolve myself, and get better and learn everything that I could. So what I did when I paused the health coaching, what I did is I started studying with Tony Robbins. So that's what I was doing, was educating myself on the life coaching aspect. Because what I observed is that as I was taking people through these boot camps, and I mean, it was miraculous, some of the things that we were accomplishing. I mean, I've been able to resolve lifelong issues that people have had in a very short time. I mean, in just one of my boot camps, I had one lady, and she didn't have much weight to lose, not a lot. And she lost 7 inches off of her tummy in just a matter of 5 days. So, I mean, it was just, and rosacea clearing up, hormones, hot flashes stopping. I mean, I can just give you a list a mile long of the things that I was able to improve with people along this line. But what I saw was that after I worked with them, they weren't able to maintain the result. So what was I missing in teaching to help people maintain the result? So that's why I went into training with Tony Robbins. So I'm an RMT graduate. So that is strategic intervention. Sorry about that. It's my puppy, Remy. Became a life coach, strategic intervention. So with that, I was able to learn how to teach people how to strategize your life and how to implement those changes and keep them as lasting changes. So, you know, continued down the path, still working on my nutrition. You know, bodybuilding takes a long time. This is not an overnight process. So I was also enjoying the modeling, you know, lots of covers. Hey, buddy. This is Remy. So you will get to know him if you're watching me for a while. This is my boy. So back to the strategic intervention. So accomplished that. I'm still working on my health. I'm doing the modeling. I'm aiming to compete. I'm enjoying life. I've done a lot of magazine work, which was just it was just soul fulfilling to be able to do it. It's like artwork to me. So lots of fun with that. But I've never surrendered the idea that my soul's purpose is to help other people. And I always knew that I was coming back to that. So taking a little pause, but still working on my nutrition, because I was not going to go down the rabbit hole again of believing in a certain philosophy and pushing this on people as it being the right thing and have the same outcome that I had with the vegan situation that I had. So I came across Dr. Ken Berry, which he is a wonderful soul. Listen to some of his videos, because so mind you, I've lived in the ancestral life for a while, so that's like a low carb, high fat situation, which worked beautifully. So the next step into that, so it's like, you can go into like an expansive approach, is then the keto. People call it keto. Mind you, keto and being in a state of ketosis can be two different things. Ketosis is a metabolic state, which we'll get into that in, a subsequent video. But then I went from low carb to ketogenic state, and then I went into carnivore. It's like I said, I have no biases. I am not married to any philosophy. If it will heal me, I will do it. I am one of those people. I'm telling you, I was so sick in the beginning. If you had told me that I had to eat dirt to heal, I would have done it. I mean, I was that, that passionate about healing my life. So that brings me actually up to today. I've coached thousands of people, anywhere from the detox up into, I coached people for Mark Sisson in the 21-day primal challenge. I have clients that I have helped through ketosis. I also helped my husband. He also lost a ton of weight too. Most of his weight loss occurred on the primal path, and then the ketosis and carnivore is where he's happy floating around in that area. I lost most of all of my weight in a vegan diet. So, like I said, everything works differently for different people. So, I'm good. Like I mentioned, I'm going to come back and I will break these videos out and go into much more detail. So if you have questions, please let me know. I can tell you about my experiences with the different things and how you can carry those diets out. Okay. And where I'm actually right now, as of today, this is September in 2024. I am back into a detox realm at the moment. I have another video telling you about that. I'm enjoying that. I'm already starting to feel better. I was having some issues with staying in a state of ketosis and the carnivore diet. So I'm doing some deeper diving into why I'm having some cellular inflammation right now. So I will be sharing that journey as I go into what I'm doing. So that is current day today. But what I'd like to leave you with today, as promised, you probably, if you're like everybody else, you have this monkey that sits on your shoulder that's constantly in your ear about diet and nutrition. One day eggs are great, the next day they're terrible. It's so conflicting. No matter what philosophy you want to follow, you can find science, the gurus, the doctors, the papers, all to support it. And on the other side of it, in the polar opposite, you will find the same gurus, doctors, papers, science. You'll hear testimonies on both sides of the fence of people healing and recovering from things on both sides. So, like I mentioned, there's no bias here. And I truly believe, and there's, as I mentioned, there's all these things that are going on, we're a holistic being, it's just a magnitude of things in the collective to consider when trying to figure out how to strategize your life, how to become healthier. We are all suffering and struggling so bad. I'm telling you, in my age, and I'm in my 50s, and I see others around me that are sick on medication. I just feel like most people are suffering in some way, shape, or form. And that is why I want to share everything I know and teach you the mistakes that I made so that you won't make those same mistakes. But at the end of the day, I want to share with you, and I'm working diligently on creating some more programs. I have a lot of programs that I've written in the past. I have boot camps, weight loss programs, detox programs, tons of recipes and things. But at the end of the day, here's the thing that you can remember. If you will eat a whole foods diet, and that may look very different from one person to the next. It may look like a high carb vegan diet. It may look like a nearly zero carb diet for some people. Single ingredient foods. Because what we need to do first is break that addiction to the processed foods, because that is what is happening. The processed foods are skyjacking your metabolism. It's skyjacking your appetite regulation. It's messing you up from the inside out. I'm telling you, this food addiction, it's rooted in, I believe, from my personal experience, is that a lot of this stems from the processed foods. So if you can remember, it's very simple, 80% of the time to eat single ingredient foods. So you're eliminating all the processed foods. Main thing you want to stay away from: seed oils, processed sugars, processed flours. 80% of the time, single ingredient foods. That's number one. That in itself is the first thing to master. And just doing that, I'm telling you, if you're eating a standard American diet, within just a few days, you're going to start noticing changes and differences. So that's number one. Number two, it's critically important. We are beings of this earth. We are creatures of nature. It is so important, first thing in the morning, as the sun is rising, and it doesn't have to take long. Just get out there and look at the sun. Take some deep cleansing breaths. Look up at the sun, because what's going to happen is that light refraction hits the pineal gland and it starts a cascade of hormones that sets off your day. You're setting the circadian rhythm at that moment. If you really want to get the bang for your buck, do it in bare feet. Get your feet on the grass. Look up at the sun. Some deep cleansing breaths, and then go start your day. Those two things, nailing the whole foods diet, getting sunlight every day, and getting sunlight on your skin for 15 minutes a day, you can exponentially change the position that you're in right now. Those would be my top things. And number three would be movement. And I know it's like a vicious cycle because we're so tired. By the time we have fought through the day, we're so tired. But if you can just find ways, and no one's going to come save you or do this for you. You have got to do this for yourself. Start walking, even if it's just a few minutes at a time. Just do it, as hard as it is, because you know what? When we start moving, we create energy. You have to move to create the energy. So if you can just get yourself into that cycle, push through it. I remember days where I just thought there was just no way I was going to do this. And I tell myself, just 10 minutes, just start. 10 minutes. If you're still not feeling like you can do this, then you can stop. I never stopped. Every time. Just make yourself do it for that 10 minutes and you'll see the energy will start to come. So if you're not doing any exercise at the moment, that would be the first place to start, is just walking. I am not into all of this cardio. I'll definitely do a lot of more subsequent videos on that. And there will be so much more on this, showing you how to implement the strategy of just the single ingredient foods. I'm going to share lots of recipes. I love doing that. So we'll have a lot of fun with it. But just don't, that's one of the things I teach with strategic intervention is, in order to change, and this is with anything, you can apply this to all areas of your life. Make a decision, okay? Make a decision right now today. Commit to that decision. And right now, while you're fired up and you have hope, make the commitment and carry it out. Take massive action right now today. Don't look back. And you can do this. You can do this. You deserve to wake up every day feeling full of life and energy and hope. And that little monkey sitting on your shoulder that I was telling you about, flick them to the curb. They're not going to have power anymore. You're going to take control. You have the power to change this. So lots more coming, folks. I had mentioned in one of my other videos, if I had waited for everything to be perfect, I would never get started. So I made this decision. I was going to get this YouTube channel started, start helping people. So just bear with me as I'm getting things going, because I'm going to share it all. I'm going to share everything. I want you to feel full of love and joy and happiness and create the lean body that you want. You can have it. I'm telling you, and it can happen without a tremendous amount of suffering. So let's nail the diet first and foremost. Start right now today. Your next meal, make it somehow happen. If you can't do it today and you need to go to the grocery store, single ingredient foods. It can be that simple. That simple. It's not that hard. An egg and a banana. I'm oversimplifying it. But I mean, you can actually make creations with something like that. If you are a foodie and you like lots of flavor, we're going to get into all of that and I'm going to help you. So I'm just so happy to see you here and excited. And it would be my honor to be part of your journey. Finally, I know you have probably dieted so many times, and in the core of your gut, you probably just feel like, what now? What now? Not another diet. I can't do it. And a lot of us have just given up. We've just accepted to live this mediocre life, dealing with the pains, dealing with the weight loss, and we're accepting that that's just how our life is, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So I'm here to help, and so much love, and I'm so excited to share all these things with you guys. So please interact with me, and let's get you going on your journey. I'm here to support. Mwah. Much love, guys.